Trigger warning, there will be multiple clips that are being played in this video that might cause some sort of discomfort. So viewers' discretion is advised. So what the heck is going on in China today? So this morning, my phone was essentially flooded with notifications from various media sources. So it seems like there was small-scale demonstration across the entire country, and it was triggered by a fire incident on Friday in Urumqi, which is a remote region in Xinjiang, where 10 people had died from the fire incident, and it seems like the COVID restrictions actually delayed the rescue operations and also subsequently the rescue process itself.
In China is growing over the government's unrelenting zero COVID policies. Officials there say that the restrictions are necessary to protect lives, but some who have lost loved ones say it's not the virus that's killing them, it's the medical delays caused by the lockdown. CNN's Selena Wang has the story. Selena, what's the latest?
Victor, anger is rising and tragedies are mounting, but China is showing no sign of budging on zero COVID. And for the second straight day, China reported its highest number of new COVID cases since the start of the pandemic, reporting more than 30,000 new cases. And authorities are responding with more lockdowns, mass testing, and quarantine. And people here are getting more and more frustrated. Adding to that anger is a fire that broke out in the capital of China's far west Xinjiang region on Thursday night. 10 people were killed and 9 injured in a fire at an apartment building. Most parts of Xinjiang have been under lockdown for more than 100 days. The deadly fire sparked nationwide outrage because widely circulated videos, which have now been censored in China, show that COVID lockdown measures very likely delayed firefighters from getting to the scene. State media claims that people in the compound were allowed to leave the building. However, videos show fire trucks unable to get close to the scene because the compound entrance was partially blocked. The video shows it's blocked with fences, tents, and metal barriers that are normally used as part of COVID measures. The video shows smoke and flames coming from a high floor of the building, but the water failing to actually reach the fire. What adds to the tragedy is that those who died in the fire likely spent their last 3 months largely confined to that building, if not entirely.
So it was definitely an unfortunate event. My heart goes out to the victims and their families, and I hope both the local and central government can take this as a really, really painful lesson. So I think here comes the main issue. I'm more than happy to give the benefit of the doubt to the Chinese government on their stance of retaining zero COVID because they say, or they claim at least, that they want to protect the sanctity of the lives and livelihoods of the Chinese people. However, throughout the process itself, the execution of carrying out zero COVID has been utterly disappointing, and the repercussions were extremely serious. So we have issues from starvation because of disrupted food delivery networks, to citizens experiencing delayed medical treatments, and to even local governments exploiting their authority by changing people's health code. And now, even rescue operations are hindered because of poor environment planning. So how bad does this need to get? So what the general public want are probably just some sort of accountability and decent policy execution. I'm sure many of them are already used to the quarantine rules, the health code system, the need for going through ART tests on a daily basis. The issue is probably the lack of communication and also transparency on what the ultimate game plan is. Time and time again, the people were disappointed with mishaps after mishaps. So on Saturday, there are multiple videos starting to circulate on social media showing protesters gathering in central Shanghai. And from the clip itself, you can see that the protesters are calling for the CCP and Chairman Xi to step down. So let's take a moment to appreciate what a feat this is, by the way. We are talking about China here, not a Western democracy, a quote-unquote authoritarian regime, a dictatorship, insert whatever you want here with a bad image. So the Chinese are standing up against the establishment. What it also proves is that when the Chinese are not happy, they are not afraid to express it. So we all kind of know what happened in the previous large-scale protests that happened back in 1989. So this is exactly the check and balance mechanism that is needed in China today to keep both the local and central government on their toes. So some of you might be thinking, what's so great about this anyway? It's just a simple demonstration. The West has it all the time, and it has been largely ineffective. So from China's history, you probably know that protests can turn out to be bad, like really, really bad. Things that involve tanks sometimes. And the people still decided to take it to the streets. I think the deeper, underlying problem needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed fast. That said, I see many commentaries online thinking that this is the quote-unquote breaking point for China, as their hands might be forced to open up immediately. Personally, I beg to differ. So it will probably be somewhere in between. Someone will need to address the issue, but I don't think the CCP will open up just because you protested. It's a good feedback system to voice your concern to the authorities, but it stops at that, because I probably speculate that the CCP will never allow for the manifestation of such behaviors in the long run. So you don't get sweets just because you cry, if you get what I mean. So that's my own interpretations. We can see how things develop in real time. Now, there was another clip with protesters advocating for the abolishment of the health code system. And also, we have university students en masse gathering to express their disgruntlement.
开灯！
没在这儿，你们尽管没在这儿，没有关系，我陪着你们，好不好？你们总有一天要为你们今天的所做的一切，人都要为自己所做的一切要付出代价。你也为你也要为你的国家要付出代价，懂吗？举头三尺有神明。疫情防控是国家的政策，政府要求，核酸要求，所有人都是一样的。 你们不想做核酸？为什么国家想不在这站着？谁能给我讲我们起了事情了？我这3年出发不了出发的东西。
So even Tsinghua and Beijing, the top two universities in China, have students staging protests over the last 24 hours. So I think when you put yourself in the shoes of the government, you are dealt with this set of cards. On one hand, you have your elderly population that are generally more conservative, and the vaccination rates amongst them are really, really low because they are probably skeptical about the vaccines. On the other hand, you have the liberal bunch, which are generally much more younger and has a better immunity system to combat this pandemic and are currently trying to strong arm the government to open up. So are the millions of lives hanging in the balance worth it? I don't know, but China has made it clear on what is the path they wish to pursue on. And us, as spectators, will remain as spectators. It's easy to run your mouth on the sidelines, sending a few tweets out, or just writing some spiteful comments online. Try running a country, maybe you will understand then. That said, I do want to point out that China has had the lead of managing this pandemic well in the earlier stages, but they have completely lost their edge and their direction in the last 1 year. All the complaints about low vaccination rates, overloading of medical facilities, being short-staffed, etc., etc. They had 2 years of building buffers into the system. 2 years. And with the title of being one of the best builders in the world, it seems like those are pretty weak excuses if you're to ask me. Of course, I don't run a country, so I won't know the challenges. But I just hope that we are able to turn over a new chapter for China soon. So as investors, what does this mean for us? I think it's a little bit too early and premature to comment on the repercussions. Besides, this happened during the weekends. I don't know how long or how extensive this protest would be, but I do wish for the local authorities to have the wisdom to tide through this. So on the markets specifically, it really depends on how investors look at this entire situation. Some might think that this is extremely bullish because the political cost is too high now and the CCP has to open up the country. While others on the other hand might think that the chaos will ensue and it might morph into a full-fledged civil war of some sort. Still, I think it will be somewhere in between. So I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't think that anything will substantially change overnight. But I think it's a good wake-up call for those in power. And like I alluded in the earlier part of this video, This particular event actually highlights that social media plays an instrumental role in serving as the check and balance function of the Chinese society today. So I know many of you are going to bounce back, saying that many of these clips are deleted and censored in China. But that's not the point. The point is, how do you think these protesters caught wind of the failure in the rescue operations of the deadly fire and decided that they wish to gather at a specific time and a specific place to demonstrate against the establishment? So with that, I'll see you in the next video, but more importantly, I will see you on the moon. Goodbye!